Well, Joe, you'll be glad to know that I finally found a use for the otherwise completely useless Texas summertime. Hey, everyone in the VC out there. Hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you're having a better one than I'm having. I plan to do another Ringo review, Liverpool 8 today. That's going to have to wait till later in the week or next week. Did get this, by the way. I don't know if I showed that. I finally got a copy of that. So yeah, that was the plan. And then earlier today, I was doing laundry and went to hang shirts up in the closet. Stepped in the closet and noticed that the carpet was wet. And so this is just a small portion of the 50 or so records that out of the, I don't know, 150, 200 records in there that were soaking wet. So I spent the day. That was overflow. I've got kind of shelves full of records other places. That was sort of an overflow area in there. And unfortunately, it's the place where I had the records that were sealed or valuable, the ones that I didn't play very often, for the most part. Not all of them, but some of them. So I spent the day laying records and record sleeves out in the sun to dry, and the sun's down now, so I've still got, I don't know, 30 or so to go. That's gonna have to wait till later in the week because up early in the morning to go to work and home at night. By the time I get home, the sun's almost down, so we'll see. Yeah, so this is something that if this would have happened 5, 10 years ago, I would have been off the wall beside myself, but I guess, it is what it is. So, not going to try to replace these things because you'd be talking about a few $1,000s at least. But, in case you like to look at car wrecks, figured I'd show some of these. So there's the Tripping the Live Fantastic with the, and of course this one was alright, but a lot of these was a bitch to get the records out of them because the sleeve was soaked, and of course the record and the inner sleeve was soaked, and trying to pry that apart without pulling the record sleeve apart, which I wasn't always able to do, was a chore in itself. And then wiping down the records, and I had these in plastic bags, almost all of them. Didn't have this because it wouldn't fit, and one or two others that were too big to be in a plastic bag, but everything else was in plastic bags. Some of them were sealed, and still they got wet. The water heater closet is opposite of my closet, and it's leaked into my closet. So yeah, so there's the Tripping the Live Fantastic. I mean, the records are setting out, they'll be okay. These will be still usable and playable. Just whatever value they had is shot, which sucks, but that's not why I buy records anyway. I buy them to listen to the music. But there's a big watermark there, I don't know, that's not going to come out, and that was out in the sun for several hours today. So there's that. There is the what's left of the book that came with the album, and of course you can see there's where pages pulled apart and ripped, so that's bound for the garbage. And it's the sad thing was these were formerly mint perfect condition records, or pretty much perfect condition. That one's still kind of floppy, so that's going back out in the sun tomorrow. It's a little bit wet still. Really good album, that, by the way. That one's seemed to have dried out okay. And like I said, there's 30 or so of these to go. Here's not their best album by far, but it was in much better condition just a day or two ago than it is now. Another one of their really good albums that's that already had the ring. I bought that used somewhere, so the record was in good condition. The sleeve wasn't in that good a condition, but it was, at least it wasn't soaking wet. This one's a shame because it's a record store day deal from a couple of years ago, or I don't know, a few years ago, and yeah. This one is a big disappointment because it came with the big huge Smile box set that had the album and 45s and a bunch of CDs and a book and so forth, and I had this out of the boxes on another area, so it's fine, but I had this out because I like to play it from time to time, so I didn't have to pull the box out and get into it. So yeah. I don't know if that's going to show up, but there's a big old watermark that goes about halfway up the record there. It's dry now, but it's another record store day thing from a few years ago on colored vinyl, so I don't know how easy that would be to find. Even if I did want to replace it, which I'm not going to. I'm just going to make do with what I have. I'm turning 56 years old tomorrow, so I'm too old to start over and try to track all these things down. And yes, that is the real one. That's not the one that just got re-released here a few months ago. So Ringo album that I'll be reviewing here in the near future, but and I'm going to find something to press these down, and that might help them get back into better shape. And I don't think that's the real one. I think that's, I've had this for 30 something since back in the 70s or 80s, but I think it's a repress or a bootleg, but still. Shame too, it's such a good album. This one is an original, but you can kind of maybe at least that's not one of his better albums, and it's pretty easy to find, so I mean I might replace some of the things like that. One of the great Beach Boys albums. And yes, that's a real one. I've had that since I was in 7th grade. So and here are the inner sleeves from those things, and like I said, it was a pain in the ass to get these out of here. The only thing, I've still got quite a few of them to go through. I've got the Led Zeppelin albums that came out about 5 years ago with this extra disc. The 4th album is just soaking wet. 1 and 3 they're fine. The second one I got the box set, and that's somewhere else with the album in it, so that's fine. Like I said, these were 90% of these records were in the plastic bags, but somehow they still got waterlogged. Anybody wants to buy a slightly worse for the wear copy of the booklet that came with Trippin' the Live Fantastic, $100, give me a call. Second. Got it. see. Sealed, never opened copy of probably Ringo's rarest album. This or Scouse the Mouse would be. And somehow it's soaking wet in there even though it's sealed. So I'm going to have to unseal it and try to somehow dry it out. I'm thinking probably not going to be able to get that OB strip off without ripping it. Anyway, so, you know, I don't know. Just got to keep in mind what's important in life. And it's a shame, but the records will still play. And so far, there's only one album I think is going to be a loss. It was a 4-record Grateful Dead set that came out in limited edition, either for Record Store Day or just through their website. They do a lot of limited edition stuff. I might be able to save the albums and just put them in sleeves, but I'm thinking because it opens up and there's 4 different. It's about that thick. A finger in there, and I think that's going to be a loss. So, you know, yeah, life goes on. Anyway, hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I'll be taking a couple of vacation days off toward the end of the week because I'm going to see Squeeze and X in concert, so maybe I'll be able to get the Ringo review in on Friday. If not, I'll try to do it on the weekend. Take care, everyone.